when girls fresh out of high school stopped the entire German army. Stalingrad, 1942. The German Sixth Army's assault on Stalingrad in August 1942 was a huge shock to the Red Army as the Soviet Union High Command, Stavka, headed by Premier Joseph Stalin, had expected the German army to continue toward Moscow. Thus the Red Army in Stalingrad was woefully unprepared, having limited forces ready to counter the Wehrmacht's offensive. All that stood in their way as they entered the city was in the main a group of inexperienced teenage girls fresh out of high school. Context. Operation Barbarossa, launched in June 1941 against the Soviet Union, was the largest land offensive in human history, with around 10 million combatants taking part. It was hugely successful, and only the onset of winter prevented the complete collapse of the Soviet government. The Wehrmacht's winter assault on Moscow failed, however, and Axis forces were forced to fall back. The Soviets expected another assault on the Russian capital the following summer, and it was in this expectation that Stavka miscalculated. Germany had a desire to cut off the Soviet Union's access to the oil fields of the Caucasus and Lend-Lease supplies from the United States. An armoured thrust to the south would accomplish this while dealing a blow to Soviet manufacturing capabilities. Stalingrad, named of course after Joseph Stalin, was a propaganda target too. Caught off guard. As stated, Stalingrad was wholly unprepared for the coming battle. It had some fortifications in the city, but apparently very little facing north, the direction from which the Wehrmacht's Army Group Centre was approaching, thus bypassing the city's defences and catching the Red Army off guard. In this northern area, it seems the Red Army had only the inexperienced 1077th Anti-Aircraft Regiment. According to records, the 1077th was commanded by a Colonel Gorman, and was an inadequately trained and undersupplied unit with no infantry or heavy weapons available to support them. They were supplied with both 85mm and 37mm flak guns, with which they were supposed to defend Gumrak Airport from air attack. The unit had a very high contingent of girls, teenage girls, all volunteers and many of them fresh from their high school graduations. The battle begins. The Sixth Army smashed into Stalingrad on August 23, 1942, levelling much of the city from the air. As the 16th Panzer Division began to move into the city from the north, it came face to face with the girls of the 1077th and their 37mm flak guns. The teenage girls, the only unit standing between the Germans and Gumrak Airport, lowered their anti-aircraft guns and pointed them right at the oncoming German panzers. The extraordinarily courageous teens of the 1077th were the first serious opposition the Germans encountered in their thrust into Stalingrad. Young Amazons. For 2 whole days, the 1077th fought like Amazons against hundreds of German panzers and infantry. Their ammunition, primarily flak rounds, was probably fairly ineffective against tank armour. But according to Soviet records, they held off the oncoming troops for 2 days, although all their guns had been destroyed by the end of that, and they had suffered major casualties. Again, according to official Soviet records, the regiment destroyed or disabled 83 tanks, 15 armoured personnel carriers, and shot down 14 enemy aircraft. The Germans were surprised to discover who was manning the flak guns after eventually wiping them out, and saw that all along they'd been fighting many girls who were barely out of high school. After the 2-day battle, the 16th Panzer Division, in what amounted to a rare compliment during the brutal Battle of Stalingrad, referred to the 1077th's tenacious fighting women. Incredible last stand. This epic 2-day last stand between the heroic flak gun batteries with their teenage girls of the Soviet 1077th Anti-Aircraft Regiment and the battle-hardened tankers of the German 16th Panzer Division has to go down as one of the most incredible battles of the Second World War. That's all for now. Thanks for watching this short documentary. If you appreciated it, please like, comment and subscribe. See you next time.